Welcome to the Rochester, New Hampshire History Podcast, a monthly show that will shine a light on a piece of history that has been all but forgotten.
Isacc Adams' life is a rags to riches story. He was born in Rochester in a house located at the intersection of Salmon Falls Road and Portland Street in 1803. His family was related to John Adams, who signed the Declaration of Independence and was the second president of the United States. However, the Adams of Rochester were not wealthy like their Massachusetts relatives. Up to the age of 9, he spent most of his time working on the family farm and only received 3 months of public education. His father passed away when he was 10 years old, so he started working in local factories to provide money for his family. He developed his knowledge and love of machinery through his employment in these factories. At one point, he was working in Berwick and would walk home once a week to give money to his widowed mother. At the age of 18, he packed his bags and moved to Sandwich, New Hampshire. There he learned the trade of furniture making. After 4 years, he was not finding a lot of success. According to local legend, he was not popular or well-liked in the community. Adams decided to find his fortune elsewhere and chose Boston as his new destination. He visited his neighbors in Sandwich and asked if they'd lend him the money for stagecoach fare to Boston. Nobody would lend him money, and Isaac took that as a personal insult and vowed to return to Sandwich with money enough to buy any property that he wanted. I'm certain that everyone scoffed at his threat. Little did they know that when he returned, there'd be a reckoning, and Isaac would literally change the landscape of the town.
In Boston, he found work for a company that serviced and repaired most of the printing presses in the city. The printing presses back then were slow and were mostly wood, always in the need of being adjusted to accommodate for shrinking and swelling of the wood. Isaac, in his spare time, invented a metal press in 1827 that is known as the Adams printing press. Originally, his press was driven by manpower, but later versions of the press were driven by steam. His printing press reduced the cost of making a book, which made books more widely available. It is estimated by the middle of the 19th century that 90% of the books printed in the United States were printed on an Adams press. The invention of the Adams printing press made him extremely wealthy and permitted him to live in one of the fanciest mansions in the state. The Adams printing press was the most widely used printing press for the rest of the 19th century. Before the Adams printing press was invented, a typical family would only have a Bible at home, and they would save many years to buy that. After his press was in use, families could have several books for just a few dollars. His brother Seth joined him in the printing press business, as well as other business ventures. Seth became very wealthy. Unlike his brother, he stayed in Rochester. Seth's marker in the Franklin Street Cemetery is one of the most recognizable monuments in the cemetery.
I want to jump ahead to when Isaac retired. In 1861, he returned to Sandwich, New Hampshire, some say with a vengeance. One of the first things he did was to buy up most of the small farms in the area. He tore down many of these farms, using parts of these small farmhouses to build a mansion, barns, stable, chicken and turkey houses, an ice house, and a windmill for himself. Adams' mansion included a bowling alley, a carriage house, and a duck pond. He had formal gardens laid out and populated them with statues. He changed the landscape of the area by planting white pines in much of the land he bought, changing entire fields to forests. Isaac was not done, though. His next project was the Great Wall of Sandwich. The Great Wall is a huge structure and is aptly named. It is a shoulder-high, 10 feet wide wall made with pieces of granite that is over a mile long. Isaac had it constructed between 1874 and 1875 by employing 80 men working under the supervision of 2 master masons. The Great Wall encloses almost 20 acres. Much of the material used in the construction of the wall came from many small farmhouses that he bought up and granite from the local fields. The stone wall is wide enough to drive a horse and buggy on top of it. The wall still stands today and is a constant reminder of Isaac and his eccentric ways. He died in July 1883 and is buried in Sandwich. The following was reported about Isaac in his last days. He ran around the street in his shirt and fired a pistol at his wife to be sure she was not faking paralysis. His son Julius objected to this sort of prank and took his mother home to live with him. Isaac never forgave Julius, and in his will left him only $5,000, while he gave his daughter 19 farms and $40,000.
Isaac was married twice. Between the two marriages, he had 4 sons and 1 daughter. Years after his death, his vast estate and assets were broken up. His mansion and Great Wall still stand as a testament to the man who made books affordable for everyone.
This ends the podcast. If you have any questions or comments, please email bobgriffinpodcast@gmail.com and come back next month for another episode of Rochester, New Hampshire History.